Take an adventure into the paranormal, where you will discover many haunted locations, hear personal stories about paranormal encounters, and see a supernatural world through the eyes of experienced paranormal researchers Joe Franke and Dr. Heather Lee. Joe Franke is a veteran in the paranormal world, beginning his journey in 1986 as an apprentice, working alongside his mentors, renowned researchers Ed and Lorraine Warren. Today, Joe is an accomplished paranormal researcher, demonologist, consultant, and lecturer with over 37 years of experience. Dr. Heather Lee is the founder of Exploration Paranormal, based out of Southwest Central Florida. With more than 35 years' experience researching and investigating paranormal activity. She is a member of Paranexus, Anomalous Research Association, and the Witches Paranormal Society. Now, your hosts of Passport to the Paranormal, Joe Franke and Dr. Heather Lee.
Good morning, or good evening. Oh my goodness. I'm getting my shows mixed up. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight on Passport to the Paranormal. I have Joe here. How are you doing, Joe?
Good. I'm good. I'm happy. Got my sucker. I'm all set.
Good. And we're joined by my son, Aidan, who we're going to be talking about a few things paranormal. And one thing that Aidan was bringing up is during the introduction, he couldn't believe that Joe had 37 years of experience because he thought you were in your 40s.
I love you. I'm giving you a big hug right now. It's funny, though. Seriously, at the gym the other day, the girl that works there, she can't be more than 20, 21 years old. So she had to look up my account, and she's like, what's your date of birth? And she's like, what? I said, yeah, it's my date of birth. Because my son's in there, too. So she thought, I was born in 95.
Right.
She thought I was 42, and I said, I love you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. He was trying to do the math in his head. He's like, wait, that's not right.
I know. I certainly don't act it, do I? Because
No.
I'm a child.
Nope. And I see Tammy's joining us. Hello, Tammy. How are you doing?
Tammy.
And if anyone has any questions for any of us or Aidan, just feel free to put it in the comments and we will get to it. But what topics did you want to talk about today?
I have no clue.
You have no clue. So you wanted to come on the show and you have no clue what you want to talk about.
I just come on. I had topics, but I wasn't able to research them.
Yeah, he wanted to talk about some Aztec and paranormal beliefs, but he couldn't find enough. We kind of got thrown off track with my parents coming to visit this week. So he'll have to do some more research on that in the future.
Just shoot from the hip. That's all.
Okay.
I brought enough for everybody.
Only it can be rotten choice.
I'm going to go
what you need to do is put one in Hannibal's hand and see if it's eaten by the next morning.
That's a good idea.
And you got to worry about a random person.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
And then if it is eaten in the next morning, except for I'm going to message your daughter and I'm going to be like, go downstairs and eat the sucker when your dad's not watching.
Well, I'm home alone tonight, so my wife just went to work and my son is somewhere and my daughter is somewhere, so I am unsupervised. I am an unaccompanied minor, I guess.
Yeah, and Dana's asking if you brought enough to share.
I did, and I got my gray sweatpants on too. For whatever that's worth.
You're more dressed up than Aidan is. He's in PJ bottoms.
No, I'm not. I have my black bottoms on.
He's ready for bed.
I don't know. At my age, I'm lucky if I can get up and go to the bathroom by myself.
So I guess since all three of us are attending Phantasm, we can talk on that briefly too. I'm hoping that some of our friends and colleagues can make it down to Florida. Mm-hmm.
Dana said she might come.
Who did?
Tammy can make it.
Okay.
Maybe Jeff and Dana. I think they're going to Europe.
Yeah, I think they were going to Europe.
He doesn't love me anymore.
Yeah.
But
I know
it's going to be fun this year.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to pull up our panel discussions now.
I don't care where they put your table. I'm hanging out with you guys.
Well, my mom's going to be with me now, so I got to get her a ticket. So I got to message out and get her a ticket. But she asked me if we had room in the hotel room for her, and I'm like, sure we do.
Yeah,
so now she wants to come.
Mm-hmm. They could bring in a rollaway bed.
Oh yeah, it's just going to be Aidan and I in the room because Josh has to drive back and forth every night because of the dog. Because the one place that we found we could book her is $45 a night plus another $35 a day if we want her to participate in the day camp. Otherwise, she's in a kennel all day, and I'm not doing that to her.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah, and everyone else is booked.
Kennel cough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone else is booked. So we're just he'll drive back and forth each day.
I'm just reading the comments.
Is there a room?
Joe needs
if anyone has a room that makes it easier to get.
Heather, you got to keep Anaconda Girl away from me.
Yes.
Sarah, I think her name is. That psycho.
Yeah, Dana said she would be your bouncer if you can share a room with her. And if not, we can put Aidan on that project.
Yeah, Aidan, I remember when you curled up in a fetal position and were snoring behind us. I was so jealous. You could sleep anywhere, huh?
Kind of.
I could roll up in the middle of the street and fall asleep.
Except for he needs to stay awake this time because he's actually doing 2 presentations with me during it.
Yes.
I'm pulling them up right now because I know one presentation I'm doing is the history of witches. So I'm going to talk about everything from the rise of witches in Europe through the Salem witch trials and present day witches. And then Aidan and I that night on Friday are doing horror story origins. Mm-hmm. So we're covering everything from Wolf Creek to Psycho.
Which is funny. She's doing all of the ones that have historical references. I'm doing the one that I thought would be fun.
Yeah, he found one. What was it?
The Thing.
The Thing.
Which ones am I doing with you? I don't even remember what I'm doing.
Oh, you are doing, where is it?
You're doing the one about the Ouija or not Ouija.
Ouija or not Ouija, and that is Saturday at 5 p.m.
That's the only one I'm doing with you?
With me, outside of the paranormal Q&As that we're doing with Bill's team.
Okay.
So
I'm looking forward to those panels. Those are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Always get a good crowd.
Yeah.
Hopefully the crowds will be bigger this year.
I hope so too.
And I heard a joke about the Ouija stuff, which was funny. It was essentially the guy was like, so you have to be 16 or 14, 15 to be able to drive, and then you got to be 18 to be classified as an adult. But for the low price of $19.99, your 8-year-old child can talk to demons.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you should say that.
Well,
and then I know I'll have the Annabelle Ouija board with that I'll be raffling off at the event.
I'm buying tickets to that raffle. Yeah. I want that.
And I'm thinking on opening up the raffle for anybody on Facebook to get their tickets ahead of time to kind of try to boost that because it looks like it's a really nice board. I haven't gotten it in yet, but hopefully I'll have it in time.
I may, if I can squeeze her in my suitcase, be raffling off a miniature Annabelle doll. It's like
Ship it to me.
15-inch one.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a couple of them, but I've committed to raffling one off at my lecture on the 21st of October.
Mm-hmm.
So I should have another one. So yeah, maybe I will because I'm only gonna have so much room in my
I sent you my address for you to ship stuff to me so you'd have it.
Yeah, I have it. I think it should be in my messenger thing, but I'm looking around. I'm not going to be able to.
If not, I think Haley has it too.
Yeah, I've got some stuff that were given to me by Ed and Lorraine through the years, but I usually showcase those, but I'm not going to be able to bring them all to Florida And I
Mhm.
some of these things I would not trust shipping, because they're irreplaceable.
Right.
Like the painting and
Right. Yep.
the other thing I have. I don't know if everyone's seen it, but I have
Mhm.
a poster or a print of the White Lady of Union Graveyard
Mhm. Yep.
that did many years ago, signed by both of them. Back in '93, so 30 years ago.
Mhm.
It's a fascinating piece, but I'm not parting with that. I've had people offer to buy it from me. I'm like, no, you want to start with 6 zeros, 7 zeros, 7?
Yeah, because I know at my table I have a shipment of books that are supposed to be coming in. So I'll have haunted Southern Nevada ghost towns, haunted Florida lighthouses, and ghosts and legends of the Vegas Valley. I'll have in stock to sell at the event, and then I have some magic kits with for making kits to protect your home that I'll be selling, and then I'm going to be ordering the journals that I just made for Amazon, the 113 ghost prompts for journaling. So I'll have those with at the event too.
Is there anybody in our comments section? Is anybody coming to Phantasm? I know Dana's coming. How about, I don't know, how many people we have in here? I think they left.
It's the Aztec.
Oh, okay.
I just have
That's
Okay.
okay.
one, two.
Yeah, if you
I've
want to
just been
cover it,
skimming it.
we're just kind of babbling.
talking.
We just talk. We don't have any agenda. Interrupt at any time.
Well,
Well, it seems like you guys have something very important to say about it. Phantasm.
We're just letting everybody know.
yeah, so how about lectures? Do you have anything scheduled? I know we're trying to get together, but
Yeah, no.
I just scheduled another one today. So
I know I
had
have a
to
couple.
try out to November because I've got a full dance card. I've got a couple of
Mhm.
weddings in October as well. So I
Yeah.
don't know, everybody wants October. I'm like, these are year-round events.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
no, I have some book signings that I'm working on getting finalized with the publisher. But they wanted me to go to Jacksonville for one, and that's like 3.5 hours away. And I'm like, I'm not driving to Jacksonville. Maybe down the road I will, but not right now. But we're trying to get some here. There's a historical society that has they have old homes that they've preserved from the area. And then in the back of there's a cemetery. So I'm working with them to start doing some lectures at their location. But I got to reach out with the proposal and get that all done. And
well, I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we have some stuff cooking up for next year, the
I hope so.
2024 season. I mean, I'm fingers
We were
crossed.
supposed to have stuff for this year, but then
Well, I mean, it could still happen. The problem is, before you know it, I mean, it's almost September. September, obviously, the middle of September is Phantasm, so that week is shot pretty much.
Yep.
I've got 2 scheduled when I get home, and then I just scheduled. I have 3 in November, and then Thanksgiving. And the problem is, once Halloween's over, give it a couple of days after Halloween, and everyone's in a candy coma, myself included. So Laura's like, put these things away for Halloween. I'm like, no, I'm starting early this year. So
if you eat all of those by Halloween, you're gonna have one thick tummy.
no, I have like 1 or 2 a night. I don't eat that many of them. But yeah, so I'll be in New Hampshire in the weekend before Thanksgiving at the old North Conway Scenic Railroad.
Okay.
The old railroad building is alleged to have a couple of spirits. Last year we spent some time there. A couple of weird things happened, but I wouldn't attribute them to the paranormal. But they have a train car there that, who did it belong to? Somebody famous. I think it was one of the presidents used to like travel around and give speeches from the back of the car, and it's in use still. So we were given like a 4.5 hour train ride through the White Mountains, the presidential range. It was unbelievable. Now, the good thing is, well, all the leaves were down by then because, like I said, it was the weekend before Thanksgiving. But it worked out for me because of my schedule, and it worked out for them because they have to wait till their fall foliage tourism is over. And it's, it just winds through the mountains, through the woods, and you could see it was a beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky, and you could see all the mountains and the white caps and everything, and Mount Washington, Mount Jefferson. It was just a lot of fun. So, so we went up on Friday. It's 4.5 hour drive. It's not around the corner, and so we did like a mini investigation, and it was just Greg, the guy that hosted us, and my wife and I, and we hung around till like 2 in the morning, and then we all got tired. Went back to the hotel, and then Saturday night they had a golf club next door, a country club, and they had a big room that fit. I think we had about 100 people, maybe a little more than that, and that was a lot of fun. So they asked if I'd come back this year. So, these are all things that I've been setting up over the last few months. Too far for you to travel, but.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you had any scheduled for yourself, because I really
not yet. Still working on it.
Want to work with you and possibly Bill and some of our other colleagues in the foundation to travel around the country and speak at colleges and universities. I try to educate people on the real paranormal stuff, not some of these TV shows you watch. That's all for entertainment.
Yeah, and I know Brent and I have been talking about it. I'm supposed to talk to him in the next week or two once he gets, because he's supposed to be going. We probably won't even talk to each other until after September, because he's supposed to be going to Nevada State Prison for a full weekend. And then.
That's new.
Yeah.
I hope we get out there, because I want to go out. I want to see some of these tunnels. Or wait a minute, are those tunnels and stuff? Are they closed off?
Oh, okay.
I forget. Are those closed
Wow,
off?
he took a dark turn.
He thought Brent was going to jail.
Really?
No, it's not.
Yeah, no.
But no, like the Washoe Club and the other hotel there. Was it the Goldfield?
The Goldfield Hotel.
Goldfield. Yeah. I mean, it's on the bucket list, but if we could get some speaking engagements out there, that'd be a lot of fun. I'd love to go to Alcatraz. And
the Clown Motel.
Okay, no.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got to get off the East Coast. I very rarely have gotten off the East Coast, and I've only been out on the West Coast once in recent years, and that was for work, and I really never left the hotel, so that was in Oregon. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. I say Oregon. It's Oregon. Who wants to go to Portland now? Get mugged.
Well, did you want to cover your little topic real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, let's dive into this here. We got plenty of time.
So this is just
suckers.
This is essentially a 15-minute later examination. The only thing I was able to find about this stuff was just Wikipedia, so take in what you will. But it's about the underworld of the Aztecs. Just bear with me on some of the translations.
All right.
But what they called the underworld was Mictlan, I think, is how it's supposed to be. Which was the way they would say the underworld, where most people who died would travel to that place. But other possibilities exist, as it says. With Mictlan consists of 9 distinct levels. So it's kind of like the Dante's Inferno, essentially. And it says that the journey to the first level to the I'm having a hard time speaking.
It's okay, spit it out.
The journey from the first level to the 9th is difficult and would take 4 years, apparently. But the dead are aided by the psychopomp. I think that's supposed to be, I don't know. It's like, would it be an X sounding?
Which one?
That one. Because it's the
Zolotl,
you think? Yeah. So the Zolotl. And the dead must pass through many challenges. One of them, it says it's a mountain range that crashes into each other. Another one is a field that has wind blowing, flesh-scraping knives, and then a river of blood with jaguars. Which does not sound pleasant.
Sounds like a party.
but what's also interesting is that they also apparently feature the Aztec creation myth with the I'm not even going to begin to say that word.
Nicole says you're doing fine, by the way. Which word?
That one right there, top one.
The Mictlan?
Yeah,
The Mictlantecuhtli.
Mictlantecuhtli.
If anyone's Aztec descent, we are sorry we're butchering all of this.
Set a pit to trap the Quetzalcoatl. I think that's how I say it.
Yeah,
Quetzalcoatl. Yeah. When I keep thinking of the dinosaurs. I keep saying it like that. Quetzalcoatl entered the Mictlan seeking bones with which to create humans. Mictlantecuhtli was waiting. He asked Quetzalcoatl to travel around Mictlan 4 times, blowing a conch shell. You know, those, I don't know the shape of it is.
Big shells.
Yeah, giant shells with no holes. Quetzalcoatl eventually put some bees in the conch shell to make sound, fooled Mikkel. I'm not even, just that guy. I think that's his name.
Let's just refer to him as that guy.
Now it says down here that he's the Lord of the Underworld, so we'll just call him the Lord to make it easier. Showed Quetzalcoatl to the bones, but Quetzalcoatl fell into the pit, and some of the bones broke. Aztecs believe this is why people's height are different, which is actually more interesting than most.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you had said, it sounds a lot like Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've heard of anything referencing that, but it's believed to be ruled by a king, which is the name we're having a hard time saying, which goes by Lord of the Underworld, and then his wife, Mictlantecuhtli, I think.
That other word we're butchering.
We're butchering every word. But she's the Lady of the Underworld, which I don't think I've ever heard of her being like the devil and then the devil's wife.
Yeah, I don't know. Joe, does the devil have a wife?
A wife?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, because she'd be worse than him, probably. No offense.
Yeah, sure.
I know he has a mother. What's her name? I don't remember. But no, I doubt he has a wife.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I've never heard of. So in the Aztec beliefs, their devil had a wife.
Yeah. You can just imagine like a sitcom from the 80s. And then it says at the very bottom, like a little footnote, is like other deities include. I think of a Chihuahua with that one. It's like Chihuahua, who commanded the army or the spirits, not army, but Mictlan spirits called Chihuateto.
Well, maybe that's where Chihuahuas got their name, because those things are vicious.
Yeah.
Those things are vicious. It's like somebody in the deep woods of the Amazon said, let's cross a rat and a piranha and see what we get. That's what Chihuahua is. And if you have one, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
No. We don't, but someone watching might.
I'd rather wrestle a pit bull.
I actually like that.
Yeah, my grandmother said bees are just aircraft for ants. She had dementia.
The dementia thing, not so much, with the bees being aircraft.
Yeah, that's actually cute.
I don't like bees.
Yeah.
I'm scared of bees.
But I'm almost wondering, from glancing at this real quick, if this is like almost if the Aztecs also believed in demons.
I can just do a quick Google search and see if we get another article.
Because the disclaimer is this is quick Google searching.
Yeah, this is just completely quick Google searching on this stuff on Wikipedia is what I'm finding. So take most of it with a grain of salt. Here's one. So you guys can I'll just skim through it real quick, and you guys can just talk about something else.
Just real quick, looking at everybody who's joining us. Thank you, everyone. I see Nicole's here. Thank you for being on my show earlier this week, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Josh says he'll be at Phantasm. Dana's here. Jay's here. Virgil's here. I saw Stephanie pop in. And if I'm missing you, I'm sorry. I'm doing a quick scroll through here. Just make sure you say hi.
Yeah, hello everyone. Stephanie, I'm sorry I meant to call you today. I was up last night late into the wee morning hours, working on a case remotely.
Don't believe him, Stephanie.
I
said, don't
was.
believe him, Stephanie. I was supposed to hear from you by Friday.
Hey, I was working with Dana on it, so she's got my back, hopefully. But yeah, Stephanie, I got some stuff to talk to you about. I'll try to give you a call, if not tonight, sometime tomorrow or over the weekend. But yeah, we were working on some casework last night, which was interesting.
Yep.
Case out of Pennsylvania, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so they do have demons, like every culture, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And they're called Tizisitmit. I don't know.
Zitzimiddle.
Zitzimit.
Zitz?
And then Zitzimidi. Mimi.
Yeah, it's Tzimitl.
Tzimitl. And then the plural, which is just has Mimeh at the end of the Zi.
This is strictly Aztec beliefs?
Yeah, it's what I just typed Aztec demons. And I'm hoping it is just Aztec stuff. Because if it's not, then I'm doing a terrible job.
Summoning something crazy that'll show up tonight.
Well, you got my number if you need me. Because I'll probably be up anyway talking to somebody.
Because apparently the one we just said is apparently a monstrous deity associated with stars. They were depicted as skeletal female figures wearing skirts, often with skull and crossbones designs. In post-conquest descriptions, they are often described as demons or devils, but this does not necessarily reflect their function in the pre-Hispanic belief system of the Aztecs.
And it's kind of creepy looking.
Yeah. I don't know if you could see it. No, that's too bright. I tried.
That works.
Seriously, when you get your research done, send me a copy. I'd like to read up on it.
Yeah. I'm going to have to.
And stuff like that.
Him and I might have to even work on a presentation for this because this sounds more. When he brought it up to me, I was like, I had no idea that, the Aztecs believed the way they believed.
The only reason why I thought about it was because it was.
He wants the Aztec death whistle.
Not only that wasn't the reason why I'm interested. Mainly because it's in a game that I play, and I got interested in that stuff. Because basically the only thing I knew about that stuff was the whole, sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to do some more research on that.
Yeah. Seems like most of them are, at least from the demon stuff or deities in general, is just they're female, which is interesting.
Men were afraid of women.
Research is key because you have to know what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and Dana and I were discussing that last night. You have to know what you're dealing with, or what. It's not who.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, for some reason, they actually explained away the solar eclipse before they actually knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
They actually thought that since the deities were about the stars, associated with stars, and since the sun does the whole solar eclipse, they interpreted it as them attacking the sun, which then caused the solar eclipse. It's actually kind of interesting.
Attacking the sun?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
I don't think I've ever heard of a culture that says that, but I guess that's kind of what you get with a culture that, I don't know, just does their own thing.
Yep. And Tammy just commented, Aztecs use crystals all the time and believe spirits were inside the stones. They use jade, turquoise, quartz, and amethyst.
Let's get on the subject of beads.
It's because of the
bees carried ants.
Bees played as aircraft carriers for ants, and we just got in there to stop this whole little subject while we're talking about Aztecs. Which is kind of
actually, what was it on my Tuesday morning show? We got on the subject of bees 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, what was the context?
Well, we were talking about growing our own herbs.
Oh, wow.
And how different herbs and flowers attracted bees.
I don't like bees, especially the yellow jackets. Those are the nastiest ones because they nest in the ground many times, and they're attracted to vibration, sets them off. So it's a lot of times you're out mowing the lawn, and next thing you know, you're getting swarmed by like thousands of bees.
Yep.
I watch the stuff on YouTube, and I get the heebie-jeebies.
I haven't seen someone do this, but you know, like how they put dry ice into it?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you put dry ice into it, then put a lawnmower on top and turn it on?
You're terrible.
I'll get rid of them.
Or we'll talk about the spider that we ran into the other day.
Oh my God.
Josh will probably chime in on this one, but we went to storage to get my Halloween decorations, and we came across 2 huge wolf spiders, and one of them had an egg sac on it inside our storage unit. I went to the other side of the storage complex. Aidan was fine until the one jumped. And we left Josh at the unit to deal with it.
Well, spiders don't bother me. Snakes don't bother me. Mice don't bother me. Bees bother me because they could fly after me and sting me multiple times. Many of them can.
Yeah.
So
nope, these were big enough. I guess I didn't stick around long enough to see it, but Josh said he could see the individual eyes. It was big enough to be able to see that. And I'm like, oh, I was just gone.
Do you think bees have spirits? Do bees exist in the paranormal world?
I don't know. It could explain sometimes why you see little, the orbs. There we go. We've solved orbs.
They're ghost bees.
Well, I mean, some of them probably are bugs.
Right.
No,
but no,
not.
I mean,
I believe in animal spirits. Do you believe in animal spirits?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I heard countless stories of people that lose loved pets that they've had for years, and they still feel them on the bed. They jump on the bed or on their leg or whatever.
Yep.
So
I think after having this talk, DJ's having existential dread.
It's okay, pumpkin. But yeah, I know at my parents' house, they have their last dog and their last cat are still there. Yeah, and we think we captured an EVP of what sounded like a dinosaur.
Yeah, we still have that. You still have to find it.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I have a couple of slides in one of my presentations where I have a photo which I believe contains animal spirits. There's recognizably there's three dogs. I wish I could show it to you. Yeah, I'm not prepared, but people love that particular slide because people that believe they love animals and they believe in animals that have spirits. But one of them is it's like the perfect outline of a dog, and the history of the land was a farm, a couple hundred years ago. It's now a cemetery. But yeah, I believe in that. I definitely, like I said, I have an open mind about everything.
I had
possible.
A kid come up to me at an event and asked me. He was as serious as can be. He had 2 questions for me. One was, "Are there ghost fish?" And then the other one was, "Do ghosts poop?" So, but it got me thinking on, are there ghost fish?
Do ghosts poop? Boy, we've taken a turn here, folks.
He had to have been like 6.
We want this to be an educational show, but Aidan, why don't you do some research on ghost caca?
No. I'm not having that show on my phone.
No. Ghosts don't poop because as far as I know, they don't eat.
But do they?
I don't know. That's what cotton candy's for.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, okay. You kind of stumped me on that one. Ghost.
That's what I get for hosting family friendly.
Now I won't be able to sleep tonight because I'll be looking it up. Nicole, look that up for me, please. Nicole's awesome. Nicole, look up ghosts. Do they defecate?
We could ask AI. No.
I just dropped about 10.
Yes, just ask Chat GPT.
Yeah, we just lost a few IQ points there. Let's talk about some cases. Anybody want to discuss some cases?
I haven't been on any cases in a while between my knee surgeries and moving.
I mean, does anybody want to talk about any of the, the recognizable cases like, I don't know, Amityville and Annabelle and things like that? That's what really spikes interest in the people I speak with. So I build my presentations around the old cases back when the Warrens worked on them, and then I sprinkle in a few good ones that I had over the years. And matter of fact, I was just on the phone this morning with a gentleman from down in New Haven who wanted me to do a lecture this fall. He really wanted October, and I said I just can't do it. So I said, look, I could do it on the 4th of November. It's the Saturday right after Halloween. He wanted a Saturday, and there's only so many Saturdays in October, and 2 of them I have weddings on. So,
Yep.
So, he asked me what I would be talking about. I said, well, obviously I'm going to discuss, my history and how I got involved in this work many years ago. And I talk about, the divination stuff, which is very interesting. And then, that is usually a good segue into, I talk about the movie The Exorcist, the case that was based on. If for those of you that may not know, that was a 14-year-old boy that happened to. So it's based on a true story. And that boy grew up to work for NASA. He was a NASA engineer for many, many years. As a matter of fact, only a few years ago, I think he retired. And they kept it a secret. Nobody knew, or at least they didn't leave on that they knew who it was. But my point is in bringing that up is that case or that paranormal activity started using a Ouija board. He used as a teenager, he used to play his aunt, I guess, as I learned the story. His aunt would introduce him to the Ouija board, and they used to play with it together. And then I think she passed away, and he continued to use it to try to connect with her. And you know what happened after that. That's your doorway. That's your entry point. One of them anyway, because he was willingly using the board to try to basically conjure. But the intent was to speak to your aunt or past loved ones. But what else? Something else came through. You open that door for something else, you don't know what you're going to let in. Right. So that's always a good topic to talk about. I'll bring up Amityville sometimes. It depends on how much time I have. Because this guy's like, Joe, can you do an hour? And anybody who knows who knows me, I could do an hour on the introduction. So we settled on 90 minutes. So that. I have a bunch of different decks, and I have to decide what to take out because I try to time myself. It's like, okay, don't spend any more than 5 minutes on this segment, and if Emily or Laurel is in the audience, they'll kind of just give me the old tap on the watch thing, saying you gotta move along. But,
hurry up, old man.
Well,
Seems like Nicole got back to you on those articles.
But it's a lot of fun. Aidan, would you be interested in lecturing?
Yeah, it depends. I wouldn't be good at most things that are doing with paranormal.
People, have had their own experiences they can talk about. It doesn't matter your age or experience. I mean, that's how you get experience. You do things like this. Yeah, do you have a problem talking to crowds of people? I don't think you do. You didn't last year.
Not much.
Heather, you're doing really good. You're really good with it. We got to get Brent to be comfortable with it.
I know, I'm working on that. Jay just commented, he said he saw a reel the other day that mentioned pearls of death. I never heard of that, neither has he. Have you heard of that one?
Mentioned pearls of death?
Yeah.
I mean, talking about actual pearls or pearls of like wisdom?
Sorry, our dog is.
I'm assuming
okay?
you mean real pearls, Jay. I don't know. I've never heard that term before. That's interesting.
She may have vomited. Let me go check.
Okay.
I'd be interested in any
Sorry.
research that anybody wants to do on that. What do ghosts eat and do they poop? Okay. All right, Nicole.
No,
you
he
keep
says
working on
actual
that.
pearls.
No, actual pearls. Okay. Somebody want to do a Google search on that? I'm fascinated now. Pearls of death.
Yeah, he says
this
he'll find the
something like-
reel for us. And then
Are these actual
Yeah.
pearls that are allegedly cursed or something? Is that why they're called pearls of death? Because
he'll
objects
get us
can
the
be
reel.
cursed.
What we could do is we could watch it for next week. But Todd sent a quick question. He says, what do you guys think of attachments when you go to these haunted places? Can they follow you home?
Yeah, they can, unless you protect yourself and tell them.
Yep.
You're not allowed to follow me home. I don't give you permission. Usually, it's all it takes. But again, it's the intention. If you go to a place where there's spirits and you're playing with, Ouija boards or other forms of these things and EVP sessions and ghost box sessions, and they may follow you home just out of curiosity.
Right.
Or I've had things follow me home because they needed help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about earthbound spirits, human spirits. It's not always dark and negative. It's actually pretty rare.
Yeah, I had one. I think we talked about this when Brent was on. But I had one. We did the investigation of the house where the daughter was dabbling in magic and witchcraft, and it wasn't demonic, but it was definitely something negative there. And my home is always protected enough to where nothing negative can come in. And after I got in the house and closed the door, I didn't even have my shoes taken off yet. And it sounded like someone punched our front door. And when I looked through the peephole, there was nobody there. And nobody running away, nobody anything. And it was as if someone was mad that they couldn't get in. So I'm thinking the spirit followed me home from that case, because that was the same spirit that attacked us, both Brent and I, during the investigation.
Well, I mean, obviously you know this, but when you're out investigating, you want to be very respectful. Oh, that's why, you see on TV or even see it in the news where, kids, teenagers, even adults, they'll go to cemeteries and they might bring like a Ouija board or do EVP sessions at a gravestone or something. Why? I mean, there's no reason for that. If you're looking for trouble, you usually can find it.
Yeah.
And then you have something followed me home, or I have an attachment now. It's like, well, what'd you do that for? You thought it was fun. That's why I call these type of people thrill seekers, because they're out there for the thrill and they're hoping to get something on film, a camera, or load it up on their social media page or YouTube channel, get a bunch of likes. But I mean, these spirits are human. They were once human, and if they come in visitation or if they remain earthbound for whatever reason, sometimes, let my psychic friends jump in here, Tammy and Dana and Nicole. If they're attracted to you because you guys are like a beacon for this, they know that you can communicate with them, and maybe they're looking for a lost loved one and they can't find it. Maybe they can't find their way. Maybe they can't move on into the light. We do a lot of that. I call it spirit rescue, for lack of a better term. But yeah, definitely things can follow you if they have a reason to. But you don't want the negative stuff. That's why you need to protect yourself. Like, you know what? When I go on a case, and even if it's something that's not reported to be negative, it's always best to be prepared. You always want to be prepared. So, usually what I'll do is, like, before I went to the New York case, I went to confession. I practiced my faith. I went to confession, And people might think I'm strange, but when I go to confession, I sit with the priest in his office, or in the rectory.
Did he freeze?
We might have froze.
Oh,
I don't. I have claustrophobia, so I don't like the confessional. But I sit there and like have a conversation with the priest. But you want to be absolved of all sin, and you want to be in like what we call a state of grace. Otherwise, you can become a target yourself. I mean, I'm no different than anybody else, So, let's hear from you.
And what did you find? Yeah.
It was about the pearls
Pearls of Death.
But the only thing I could find was a Sherlock Holmes film from the 1944s.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what he's referring to.
No. But it looks like it has Donald Trump.
But Jay's getting some more
information. Actual pearls that exist,
they're
in a museum or something, or I have never heard of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know he commented he had limited information. He would get back to us with more, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. And then while we were chatting, Todd says he's curious as to what Aidan thinks about TV and the paranormal. Does he watch any of the ghost shows? And after all, he might be the next.
Yes, I might be.
He is the next generation of us, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to chime in here. Aidan hasn't even watched Real Haunts Ghost Towns, Real Haunts 3, which he was both in.
It's not that I don't like ghost stuff. It's that I don't like me in films.
You don't like what? Mean folks?
I don't like me in films. Myself,
dude.
and I.
And it's funny because when we filmed Real Haunts Ghost Towns, they promoted the crap out of him because they thought he was the star of the show.
Oh, absolutely. Right, go with it. Maybe we'll meet somebody down at Phantasm.
Yeah,
you never
maybe.
know. I mean, these networks, they're always looking for that next personality or that next
shot
angle. I mean, they hit the paranormal over the past 30 years from every different angle. Like haunted dolls, haunted objects. Like John. I just spent. I don't know if I told you how I spent last Thursday. I was with John Zaffis for. God, we met for lunch around 1:00. We didn't leave the diner till after 8:00 at night. We had a lot of catching up to do. But we were talking about TV shows, and I had asked him if he would ever do another one, and he said, "Yeah, if the time was right and the subject and everything, and if you had some control." So a lot of these shows, at least the first season or two, if you're lucky enough to have one, they won't even let you see the episode before it airs. And that's what John told me. It's like, and you have like no control and no say. It's like these producers, some of them are fresh out of freaking, college, and they tell you what to say, where to stand. That's why I don't get along with them. I just say no. I do what I do, or I don't need to be on television. I got a face for radio, as I've always said.
Yeah, well, even on Ghost Adventures, I knew Lake of Death was coming out, and I knew they had interviewed me for that, episode, and I wanted to help promote it. And I had asked, the producer, I'm like, hey, do you know if my segment's going to actually be in the show? And he's like, we can't tell you that yet.
They won't tell you anything.
Yeah, so I couldn't even say, hey guys, watch, Ghost Adventures because of X, Y, and Z. I just had to wait until it aired, and then next thing I know, my phone's blowing up because I didn't watch it.
I also find it funny how they portray you.
Yeah.
You didn't watch the episode that you were
Not
on?
when it aired. I've watched it since, but I didn't watch it when it aired.
Oh.
And I only saw the segment. It's funny because I know the actual.
Your segment was very well done. I mean, because you do your research.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not just saying that. You did a good job, but they took the information you gave them, and I just wasn't happy with it. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's another thing because before I got in the way this is now with the paranormal stuff, I watched some video that just talked about these very poorly done ghost shows, and one of them was hysterical to me because the show was it got the person and they were like, oh, we were having these many things, I turned the TV up on from downstairs and I turned the TV upstairs on, and it's all this. And then what's funny is that they send in a practical guy to say, oh, this is a universal remote. You could turn that TV off and it'll turn that TV on. And and it was funny. And then they bring in the psychic, and then they just do the whole like routine for those kind of shows. They're like, oh, I feel something bad. I'm like almost crying. It's just like, okay, interesting concept. Probably doesn't work well for you in that sense.
Well, while we're on the subject of these TV shows, some of them are very well done. I'm not poo-pooing all of them, but most of them,
the ones he talked about were the ones that are less done.
Yeah. What do you guys think? And the people in the comments, what do you guys think are the most credible? That you would say, recent or past?
My favorite,
what would you say?
British one.
Not so much the ones that were the most well done, but the ones that are most credible and actually tell the story the way it really happened. Like, for example, the Conjuring movies. I mean, I remember Lorraine and I were sitting in her kitchen once after the first one. I'm like, Lorraine, did this happen? She's like, oh, honey, that was James Wan, And Chris and I talk about this. I was like, look, if you just told the story the way it really happened, it'd be far more interesting. Far more interesting. That's the way I feel anyway. But, so the movies, Hollywood takes a lot of liberties with these. I've always said that. And it's true, but it's for entertainment purposes. It's to scare people. It's the scare factor. It's to put butts in the seats. And the ultimate goal is what? To make money. Same thing with the TV shows. You don't get viewership, you don't make money, and you don't get another season.
Because if I feel like if they were to take like these ghost stories that are actual true, and they went as close as possible, I feel like they would be less horror stories and be more like docu-films in a sense. Kind of like the one that comes to mind is the Doctor Who story of how the show came to be. Like that mix of like saying, hey, this is how the story went, and this is a movie, kind of. Instead, like not a documentary, but not a film. I think it's called a docu-film.
Yeah. Docu-series, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dana said the Holzer Files. Not bad. Not bad. I don't know, Heather. What do you think? Do you have a favorite show that you think is pretty well done? And
no, the one I'm trying to think of. I know I liked Ghost Hunters, but when Grant came back with his new team for just that one season, 1 or 2 seasons, and it had Brandon and Mustafa and Rochelle and all of those guys. I liked those because they took more of a scientific approach to testing equipment, to, testing more than just, EMF and different things like that. And then they also, when they had clients, they took the time to actually explain it to them. Like the one client, she was having poltergeist activity and she thought it was a demon, but they took the time to explain to her the new definition of what they think poltergeist activity is, that it's self-manifested.
A lot of it is self-manifested, you're right.
Yep. And then they had a school that showed a video, what looked like a ghost walking across the hallway. Well, Grant went and got a ladder and they went up to the camera and there was a spider web in front of it. And so they actually... Yeah, and they showed all that. And that's not something you saw in a lot of shows. And then I'm still partial to Ghost Adventures just because they go to a lot of locations that I've been to, that I know the history of, that I've included in all of my books. And even though they had a rocky start, they did have a good solid foundation. And then it fell apart again. But then since Demon House, Zach has kind of changed how they do things, and it's not as over the top as it used to be, even though it's still for entertainment, but there's a lot of good information if you can read between the lines on that show.
I mean, I will admit they do a good job on that show. I mean, they do a great job of captivating people and keeping people interested. Obviously, they've been on they've been on the air for what, 20 years now?
Yeah.
So if a show is well done, it can last. One show, and I'm not it wasn't my intention to poo-poo the shows. It's just that, you know, they don't accurately depict, in my opinion, a true investigation. And you really can't, because, you know, you can't go in and film a location for a couple of days or a week.
Yep.
And really, that's not enough time to gather any, you know, real factual data or video, unless you're lucky and you hit the mother load. But, you know, and then you have to have enough content to produce an hour. They're usually an hour television show. So some of them are very well done. I will say that. But there was a show on the Sci-Fi Channel, quite a number of years ago. I'd be interested if anybody ever heard of it. It was called Deep South Paranormal. Okay,
it sounds familiar.
And the guys were funny as hell. These guys, they were, and forgive me, I'm not, you know, judging anyone, but they were like hillbillies, and they had to have subtitles because sometimes you couldn't make out what they're saying. It was an interesting concept, but, you know, remember this one show? It was one of those ones where I'm yelling at the TV, like, you know, show me your evidence kind of thing, you know. And they send this guy off by himself, which we don't do in this field. We don't go off on our own. Not supposed to, for safety reasons. And he goes to this old schoolhouse that was alleged to have been haunted. And the schoolhouse is in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere. And it still had the school bell, and there was a rope, like in the middle of the building. And I don't know if the rope was there or they did it for visual effect. I don't know. But so the guy's there, and he's on a walkie-talkie with his buddies that were off at like another location down the road or something. And, you know, he's walking around talking. Again, there's subtitles, and, you know, so if you're trying to do a serious investigation and you're looking for paranormal activity, okay, but the bell, I guess, rang by itself. The guy was nowhere near the rope, and the bell started to go off. I mean, it just didn't go ting. It was like somebody was pulling on the rope. The guy, he just, and I believe his reaction was genuine, because he just freaked. And he ran. He couldn't run fast enough. I'm like, that's where I have a problem. All right? Because if you're in this work, I do this work to help people. So I don't usually do a lot of these public things. You know, I mean, we will when we do our talks, but I haven't in the past done a lot of the public stuff. But, you know, he ran out of there, and he wouldn't go back in. He was just, like, scared out of his mind. You know, either he was being genuine or he deserves an Oscar, because he looked completely terrified. I'm like, well, what did you expect was going to happen? You know, something's going to happen and just freak you out, or you see a dark shadow, or you know, something that you just can't explain. You know, but I don't know why the bell was ringing. I'm assuming somebody had some fishing line and rang it off camera, and it's probably what happened, but I could never prove it. But I remember making a comment on Facebook about it, and it had to have been a dozen years ago. And I wrote something like, you know, this show is absolutely terrible. I'll never watch anything on the Sci-Fi Channel again. And I got a message from John. He's like, hey, thanks, buddy, because his show was on the Sci-Fi Channel. So, I mean, my point is, if you're going to do it right. Or, you know, I guess it depends on the spin that you put on it. You know, I don't know. That's just my take. I mean, that's my opinion. Other people may disagree with me, and that's fine. But to me, that's almost like a waste of film. And I think the show only lasted maybe 4 episodes. It didn't get the ratings. It didn't get the viewership. And they dropped it. So I'm just curious as to what shows that my fellow colleagues like yourself and the folks that are on here watch and enjoy. You know, even though they may just believe they're for entertainment purposes, I'm just curious as, you know, what shows and or movies you feel did a good job depicting, you know, actual facts. You know, one of the ones that I liked, I think I mentioned this on one of our past shows, was The Haunting in Connecticut. Again, the house is literally 15 minutes from me. Discovery Channel back in 2005 did I think it was a 2-hour kind of documentary where they had reenactments, but they also interviewed the family members and they blacked out their faces and everything. So the family members were telling the story, and then you would see it being acted out. And John actually played himself in the show. I just thought that was really well done, but it was accurate to what happened to the family as I learned it. So I'll shut up now.
Did you want to say what you wanted to say and then take off?
No, I didn't want to take off. I just thought we were done because it was like an hour.
We have 2 hours now.
Oh,
no, 3 hours tonight.
No.
I was going to say.
So when you sign off at midnight, I'm staying on. So
okay. Then
my West Coast friends, my friends in the UK, what time is it there? It's like 4 in the morning, I think. They're 5 hours ahead of us, 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah. But I was going to say.
I want to go to Enfield and check out that apartment. Enfield Poltergeist.
Just talk over him.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt him because what if he has something important to say?
Oh, Joe never has anything important to say.
Wow.
Okay. All right. I'll just sit here and be quiet.
I'm just joking.
Suck on my.
What I was going to say is getting into with the whole subject of the shows to watch that are about the paranormal. I don't know if it has paranormal stuff because the ones I've seen from the guy, because I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, like in little memes and whatnot. But the video that I saw them in was like this hillbilly like show. I don't know where it's on, but it's like this hillbilly show. And like one of the episodes I saw was them finding Bigfoot. And I like their style because they just go in with like, they just have their hillbilly personality and they just go far into it. And I can just, and one of the memes was like, it was like a Star Wars Battlefront 2 meme with like the Ewok hunt game, which essentially is just like surviving. And it's like, it was just like me and the boys playing Ewok hunt, and it's just them like screaming, looking into the woods, flailing their guns around, being like, I don't see it. I don't know why. It just kind of made me laugh. And it's like, thinking about it, they're probably just faking it. And they're just doing it because it's fun. But it's just the thought of them just pointing their guns, screaming, and being hysterical over nothing just kind of makes me smile and laugh more. Because it's just them just going with it.
It's all done. It's all done for effect, of course. But hey, it's popular. It works.
Yeah, and another thing I had on my mind
was, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're delayed. But another thing I had on my mind was the, you know how like some movies about like horror stuff or like ghosts and whatnot, like actual movies where like they play a character, they sometimes have like a fake seance stuff and whatnot. Do you think that an actual ghost was brought and they had to deal with it off screen?
It could be. Anything's possible.
Well, it's true because going back to The Exorcist, I've seen many interviews with people that were part of the production crew, and obviously William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin, and they said that set was plagued with activity, accidents, people getting hurt. Ellen Burstyn actually, in one of the scenes, hurt her back. That hurts her to this day. She hurt her back. Now, I'm not saying that's paranormal. It's just,
I think that one was when she did like the whole spider crawl with her back ouched forward and doing the walk.
See, that's Hollywood. That's a perfect example of Hollywood taking a liberty because that didn't happen. The pea soup didn't happen. The head spinning around obviously didn't happen because it would have killed the kid. It would have broke his neck. But but the writing on the stomach, that really did happen. It wasn't really, it's hard to explain. It wasn't really that the writing was there, but it made you see it. Same thing in the Amityville case, where it looked like this blood-like substance was oozing from the walls. It wasn't really there, it just made you see it.
Mhm.
You know, and then you'd blink or shake your head, and it would be gone. It'd make you see things, it'd play with your mind, and that's scary enough.
Mhm.
You know, but again,
To
it wasn't there.
To get on that subject, I remember like watching like a guy who explained movies, and they're hitting me with like horror movies. I remember there was a video in that he talked about one of the movies, and it was I don't remember what the movie was, but it was a scene that a girl went to grab an apple, but it played with her mind. So when she grabbed it and took a bite out of it, it was a light bulb.
Mhm.
And she started bleeding and everything and all that. And all of a sudden she got snapped back to reality, and it was, oh, she did really eat an apple.
Mhm.
And it was just playing with her mind.
Yep.
Yep. Some of the older movies, maybe some of you have seen, that I like are The Changeling with George C. Scott and Christian Bale. Um, uh, I believe that's a completely fabricated story, but it was well done. You know, with the sounds and the voices and stuff like that. And then Barry Taft's case, The Entity, with Barbara Hershey.
Yep.
They claim that was pretty factual to what happened to her, and that was terrifying. You know, if you've ever seen that, just the beginning of the movie when she's doing her makeup and brushing her hair, and she's slapped across the face by this unseen force and then thrown on the bed, and then obviously sexually abused by this unseen force. Um, you know, as terrifying as that sounds to us or to anybody, those are the things that really happen. Look at the case of the Smurl family in West Pittston, PA. I think actually that house I heard was torn down, but look what they endured, and it followed them. It followed them, what I understand, to wherever they moved to. I don't know how the family's doing today. Obviously, I think the parents are passed away, but the children, you know, I'd be interested in that. That happened, I think, in the mid '80s, right around the time that I came on scene, but I wasn't involved in it. We have a case now that's close to there um, in Pennsylvania. That's the one that Dana and I were working on last night. So I'm just curious, you know, what other people feel, because obviously you guys all know how I feel.
Right.
You know, but you certainly don't really want to look to these shows for training.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, some of them, like you said, offer scientific explanations. Okay, this is the theory behind this piece of equipment, and it's interesting. It's fascinating. You know, but I like that they're looking at it from a scientific and technically advanced way, and they make or alter a video camera or recording device or something. But to sit there and listen to a lot of white noise and try to hear voices in it, it's not necessary, in my opinion. And if you listen hard enough and long enough, you're going to hear whatever you want to hear.
That's what I was going to say. It's like,
or see what you want to see. I mean, we call that what? Pareidolia. You know, you can, your eyes, your brain is very powerful. If you convince yourself, like you said, self-manifesting. If you want something to happen bad enough, it will, but it's not really happening. It's real in your mind, but let's look at the comments. What are people saying? Okay, Project Fear. I haven't watched it, but I heard it's pretty good.
The other one I like too is the Legion of Exorcists.
Yeah, there was something that I just thought of.
You like that? What you said?
Yeah. I know several people who took part in it, so I got some behind the scenes information about it.
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
we'll have to talk privately about that, because
I
watched a couple of episodes and I have questions.
It was just something that just popped into my head just right now when I saw that The Exorcist still scares Nicole. It was just it was, I think it was from I think one of those Scary Movies franchise stuff.
Yeah,
and it was
The Exorcist for 1974 was, or 73. That'd make that movie 50 years old.
Mhm.
That was very well done. That was before we had CGI and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And some of it was factual. But just if you're a lay person and you're watching that, say for the first time, and you see all this stuff happening, and you actually think to yourself, these people really, if they really went through this, that's beyond terrifying. I mean, the average person is like, people don't really know how they're going to react to something until it happens to them. That's why I tell people that say, "Oh, I'd love for that to happen to me. I'd like to be touched by a ghost or pushed or something." Just I thought that I think that's cool. I'm like, why?
Mhm.
I said because if it does happen and you're not prepared for it, your mind just can't comprehend it, and you end up either being intrigued or you're terrified.
Mhm. Yep.
Like they always say, be careful what you wish for.
Mhm.
So
Go ahead. Share your joke.
But what it was like, I think like a parody of The Exorcist, and it was like the guy came and he's like, all right, let's see, and then went to the room and the whole Exorcist joke came in, and he just like looks and he's like, fuck this, and just turns around and runs right back. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure that's happened at least some point.
James Woods, the actor.
Sorry?
James Woods, when
No.
he's in there, he's like, God, please help me release this demon. He's in the bathroom. That's hilarious.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are funny. What else we got here? Nicole, The Exorcist scares you. Well, it should. The Entity. I'm not seeing anything other than those. Anything that there's a movie called Ghost Story. You ever see that one? It's pretty cool. I don't think it's based on any true stories, but Fred Astaire was in it. Forget the name of the other actors, but that was done. That's where like a car went into a lake, and the person was alive, and they never found him. So they would haunt, and then finally they found the car, and the body was still in there. That stuff's pretty cool. I like that. I like the older stuff, the stuff before all these computers and CGI, where you can basically sit at your computer and make a whole movie, feature length movie, with the software. Project Fear. Not seeing too many here. Singing in the Rain. I love that movie. Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly. What Lies Beneath? Yeah,
That was a good movie.
Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while, but I'm trying to remember it.
I think there's a game called that too.
I'm trying to think of what other movies there are. Obviously, Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense was based on true events. Because the child, I know the family, good friends with the mother. So that was in Connecticut.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to bring up to you, Joe, and that was the missing 411 cases. Have you heard of them?
No. Missing 411?
Yeah, missing 411. From what I was able,
was it a show?
No, it was what it is that it's these cases that happen around national parks, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be just someone just goes completely missing.
Right.
And it's not even, and it's weird because it's not even like that they go missing in a certain way. It's just their fault. They do something, they're going on the path, all of a sudden they just veer right, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
One of them that I remember was that it was like this marathon, I think. And this guy, he didn't do much. He wasn't like in this whole like marathon spirit kind of thing. I think it was like one of his first times. And he got to a point, and it was basically the point where like you can back out and leave, but he wanted to go and finish it. He wasn't going to be the first one to finish, but he was going to be someone to finish.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, everyone was confused. They were like, where is he? He was gone. He just disappeared. And I don't think they found him at all. But another one was I forgot which mountain. I think Mount Everest, or I don't remember, but it was these 3 guys were hiking, and the one of them was like a little bit behind, and they climbed one part, and all of a sudden he didn't show up, and they pulled the thing, and they got it into their hand because it was off him. He wasn't on it. But what was weird about it was he didn't get like yanked off or anything. It was like he deliberately unhooked it and walked away. And they found his footsteps, followed it, and then they just got to a dead end because it just stopped. And they checked everywhere. They checked caves and whatnot, but they couldn't find him.
I hear a lot about. I mean, I know where the kind of cases you're talking about. Where hikers go missing, even park rangers go missing without a trace.
Mhm.
Which that one intrigues me because the park rangers usually know the park. But
Yeah.
I mean, you got a park. I'm talking like Yellowstone. Grand Canyon.
But there
National
was
Park.
also this one case that actually was kind of weird because what it was just this kid that just all of a sudden went missing, and he was not even that far away. And what's weird is that his father saw him hide behind the bush with 2 of the other kids to like kind of scare them, but he said like, all right, dinner's done, come on. And the other kids came, but he didn't. And they searched everywhere. And I think that story was when they brought in like the Green Berets.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was very confusing to me, like thinking about it. It's like, okay, it's a person that goes missing. Yes, it's a child, so you would have more of a force going after. But the Green Berets? That seems a little excessive.
Yeah,
Public
I've
don't
never
really
heard of
have
that.
Yeah.
But I
But-
mean,
and-
look, like the Appalachian Trail. Every year you get people that go missing. I mean, and I could see that someone takes a wrong turn. You're out there in some places out in the wilderness, and you get lost, and there's animals, there's bears. You never know. I mean, and then you'll hear years later they'll find a tent with a body in it that's been there for 3 or 4 or 5 years, which it's extremely sad, but I guess it could happen. It does happen.
It was
That was Michael Keaton.
his name was Dennis Martin when it happened. Like that was his name.
This is
And
the guy that disappeared?
Yeah, the kid that disappeared. I
How
forgot
long
which
ago?
area, but it wasn't like some mountain range or like anything. It was like a big park, like national park. I don't remember where.
How
But-
old was he when he disappeared?
I think they said 8 because I watched the video like a while ago.
So that could be an abduction case.
It could be, but it was just weird. There was also another case. I forgot what the kid was, how old he was, but he was fishing with his dad, and he just said he had to go get something from the tent, and the tent was like a couple yards, like not yards, but like it was pretty close to where they were, to the point where the dad could see him go all the way up until he gets past the clearing.
Mhm.
And he waited and just didn't have, just like nothing was, he was just gone. But in I think with that one, they found a sock that was close to an area. And the person I watched, that when he talked about it, he said that it felt like he was taken, but this thing knew where every place was and deliberately went away from the areas. Like being so close to the areas that he could have been seen, but far enough away to where he could be easily missed if not seen properly, if not given a glance. The people that I'm talking about when I watch these videos is, I think one of them was called the Lore Lodge, and a guy that I watch personally called Wendigoon. He has like essentially 3 videos in a playlist about it. And the Laurel Lodge, he has like a bunch of them. Not even just about Missing 401, but about many other things, like when to go, I keep saying
When to go, yeah.
when it goes, what were they called? Skinwalkers?
Skinwalkers?
Yeah, Skinwalkers.
When to go, shapeshifters. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of Dark Shadows. My friend Philomena is like in charge of the Hatman Project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff definitely could exist. But Tammy made a good point. Many people could fall to their deaths and not be discovered, and then unfortunately their bodies get eaten by animals or whatever. And
There was
you may never find them, or maybe years later you might find their remnants of their bones or skeletons.
There was a weird one that I haven't seen any information on it that confused me, but it was that one guy just disappeared and they found his belongings, and in his sock were like pieces of his bones, and it's like, wait, what? That it's just confusing because the rest of the body not even there, but like some bits of his bones were in there.
That might be a case where animals drag the body away, a bear.
Yeah. And I'm just a little confused on that case.
Yeah,
other ones, they seem
there's a lot. There's a lot of cases where people just go missing and they're never found again. And it may be foul play, or they might just get lost and had a fall. I don't know. I mean, it's sad. Mm-hmm. It's sad. The woman that I was referring to on the Appalachian Trail, she got lost, and when they found the body some years later, they said she was only like, I want to say like a mile from the trail. And the weird thing is the rescuers, the searchers, said that they were searching near that area, and they said, why didn't they hear her cries for help? That's really sad when you're that close to being found and being rescued. And, it was very sad because she actually wrote a note to her family. It's like, that she's like, when you find this, I know I'll be dead. And that's really sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another one was the Yuba County 5 disappearance. That one was that it was like a bunch of guys who had some mental disorders, and they were like a basketball team, and they were getting ready, and they went to go somewhere to train for a little bit and then come back home, and they just completely disappeared for a while. And they thought that, they found their car like miles away from the trail where they were supposed to be, because it was like a simple drive up to, I forgot the place, but it was a clear drive. Like the road kind of goes up here and swerves this way, but the road they took went this way. Like they went up here and then they came down, and then
took the wrong road, or just
they took the wrong road. And it wasn't like it was very bad you couldn't tell. It was just they took the wrong road, went up the mountain, the car got stopped, and they got out. And I think they took a while to do the investigation up that mountain because like a very bad storm was happening a day later. And what was sad about that is if they would have just gone and did the investigation despite that, they would have found at least 2 of them. They would have found at least 2 of them still alive. Mm-hmm. Granted, one of them was in bad condition, but they would have found at least 2 alive and tried to save the other one. Because what they found was that 2 people died. The 2 died, and then the other 2 were stuck in like a little ranger cabin. And there was evidence of it because one of their bodies was there left dead. And the other guy, I don't remember if they found him, but the other guy just... And what's sad about that case is that a lot of people think that the one of them did it and killed them. But from what I've seen and what Wendigo, who made that video, described, it seemed that the guy really cared for them and wanted to keep them safe, and seemed that he would do it. He didn't want to leave the one left alive to be wounded. Mm-hmm. and just leave him there.
So did they find their bodies or just some skeleton?
No, they found their bodies. They found two of them next to each other, and like just huddled together. I think there was like 5 of them. So, but like 2 of them were huddled together. They believe that one was injured and the other one was like, I'm not leaving him. And they kind of they left them to find something, and they were going to come back or something, but they didn't. And then another one.
Go ahead.
And then another one they found on the trail just a little bit up away, and the other one they found in the cabin. And the other guy that
was 5 of them, you said? 5 of them?
Yeah, there was 5 of them. They found 2 down there, the 3rd one up there, the 4th one in the cabin, and then the 5th one was just gone, I think. But what was weird about it also, sorry, what was weird is that the cabin was. I'm just gonna go. The cabin was up right here, and the trail kind of just sweeved up here. But there was a trail up here that went around down, and they found the bodies on that roundabout one, which kind of was confusing.
Yeah, that confuses me because if there's 5 of them, and if they were properly prepared,
but they weren't. That was the sad thing.
Yeah, I mean, was this like wintertime? I mean, because
yes, it was wintertime. Right. There was a storm that came in.
Okay, that
they were not prepared. They were ready for like basketball, like shorts and whatnot. They were not prepared.
Shorts? Wow.
Or what? I don't know what they wore, but some like basketball attire.
Yeah, see, if it were me, I would set that cabin on fire so somebody would see it.
Yeah, do the whole
from space.
Do the whole Elizabeth Swan tactic.
The Outlaw Pass is what I was going to mention.
Yes, that.
That story does intrigue me. What was that 1959? Up in the Siberia in Russia, 9 hikers.
Yeah, with that story, I don't know if it was the thing that inspired the book that made the John Carpenter's The Thing movie. Mm-hmm. But like I've heard somewhere that said like, yeah, that the book was inspired by that incident, and I'm like a little iffy on that.
They have some interesting theories of what happened, but it's just weird when they said that the bodies, when they found them, most of them were like almost naked, and you're in Siberia, and it's like they cut the tent up to get out from the inside. So it's almost like they ran off in a hurry, and they went off in different directions. And so people are like, oh, maybe it was a Yeti or Bigfoot or something like that, or an animal bear. But they said it wasn't like there was a bear that went after the tent from the outside. They said they could clearly tell that it was cut open from the inside. So it seemed like they were really in a hurry to get out of there, and obviously not to put your clothes on and be in your skivvies and no socks in that kind of weather.
I've heard some theories on it. One of them was that the area was a testing grounds for weapons.
Yeah, it was nearby. Military.
Yeah, and one of the weapons blew up and scared the crap out of them, and then they got out and did all that stuff. But it's still interesting to think about.
Well, the other thing was some of the injuries that the bodies sustained. They said there were some of them were unexplainable. It's a fascinating story. I've watched the documentary on it a few times. I don't believe it was paranormal in nature or anything like that. Somebody had the theory of what's it called, infrasound. Anybody heard that term? That kind of made them go crazy or something. I don't know if I believe that either, but the fact remains that 9 hikers died.
I know this is going to sound weird, but I kind of like stories like that because the whole thing with people like that, where something like that happens and people are like, okay, that's weird. Let's try to explain it scientifically and try to figure out what happened with everything. And sometimes I think, yeah, that's good. And if we can find them alive, that would be great. But sometimes I like the idea of it being unknown. Just this happened, and there are so many things that cannot be explained. Because to me, that seems like that could be good story material. Because, like I said, if it did inspire the book that made the adaptation for the film thing, that came from it was about, you know, like an alien creature that did all that, and to think that a simple hikers went missing due to weird circumstances to be found in weirder circumstances made the thing. It's interesting to think about. And the reason why I think that might be true is because they both have similar things to each other. You know, the thing has scientists who know what they're doing, who know what could happen, dealing with something that nobody really knows, versus people who have been very experienced in what they're doing, involving hiking, all of a sudden doing things that are unexplainable, like ripping open the tent and being found essentially just completely just torn up and whatnot in unexplained ways.
Yeah, that one's a mystery. There's another true story. Tammy just reminded me of it. A case of survival where the cannibalism, which is horrible to even think about, was Alive, the movie Alive, about the Paraguayan soccer team.
The soccer team.
Soccer team, the plane that crashed in the Andes Mountains, and that's a true story.
I don't remember.
And you know, a lot of them died in the crash, but you know, and they brought the bodies out in the snow so they'd be, you know, frozen and they wouldn't decompose. But and then some people died of their injuries afterwards, but they would basically eat the bodies to sustain themselves. I mean, I understand why they did it, but to be faced with a decision like that is unthinkable. I mean,
yeah, and that's what I think is interesting, because it's like back then it was like completely like you could not believe it, like the whole, because like I think it was mainly because of like these stories about like Wendigos and skin crawlers or whatever they're called, skinwalkers, where like it was like such a unbelievable thing to do. You will never be in a situation like that where you would have the opportunity to eat someone, and if you did, that was just you being greedy. But ever since we've evolved and been more scientific and whatnot, we've seen it more of a no, yeah, if you do it, it depends on the circumstance. Like the whole plane crashing in the Alps, that one, yes, I can see that being a thing.
I mean, basically, it was a matter of survival for them. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in that situation. Of course, I got enough fat stores that I could live off it for quite a while. But, you know, I'm not making light of that. But there's a lot of stories like that, you know, where people they get lost and they do what they have to do to survive. And your survival just kicks in. And you'll do whatever you need to do to stay alive, especially if you're with your family. I mean, anybody would do anything to keep their family alive. You know, but I don't like planes, and that's one of the reasons why. It's not the flight; it's the sudden stop that I don't care for.
Yeah, well, apparently you're safer in planes than cars. Yeah, I've seen plenty of
statistically-
videos of planes just dropping.
Statistically, that is true. However, I like to be in control of the vehicle.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing why people don't like planes, because you're not in control.
No, and you're in this tin can, this Faraday cage. You know, I'm uneasy flying, but I've done it, and I'll have to do it. But I've always thought about, you know, those movies where the plane has to ditch in the ocean or something. I mean, how do you survive if you're out in the middle of the ocean? I mean, you might survive the crash, but
What was that one movie?
you survive the elements, you survive sharks infested waters. Who knows? Right, Nicole?
Where the plane crashed and you had Wilson.
Yeah. Oh crap.
You okay?
Sorry, we were talking about like that movie with the Castaway. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking Stranded, because that's a game that's kind of similar to it, and I'm thinking like Stranded. It's like, no, it can't be.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, not like Gilligan's Island, but the one with Tom Hanks. That was a good movie because I mean, think about it. Especially if you're alone, you're by
You gotta
yourself.
make
You're
you gotta
looking
make
around like
friends.
you got to find water because you can't sustain life without water. You can only go a few days without water. Um, food you could go longer, but you know that.
Coconuts.
Yeah, well, you eat enough of those, that'll give you some intestinal problems.
That's why I like The Martian,
Oh
where
yeah,
he's
that
stranded
one.
on Mars.
Hey, we'll be there someday.
Yeah.
Someday. You know,
Yeah.
not to spin off on aliens, but I've been hearing an awful lot about aliens living and having bases on the dark side of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it
No,
possible?
that's
Sure. I
Transformers.
mean, we've never been there because the moon we never see that side of the moon. So,
Doesn't it turn?
No.
I don't know.
The moon
The
doesn't.
moon always, its rotation is the same.
Oh,
As its
so it does
rotation around
rotate,
it.
but it just when the Earth rotates, it rotates with it
Right.
like that instead
Yeah.
of being its own rotation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we always see the same side of the moon.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
for some reason I thought it was like it rotates like faster since it's smaller.
Well, it's like, what was it? Russia's probe just got shot, or didn't shoot down, but it disappeared and crashed when it tried to land on the moon recently. But India managed to get theirs on there.
Yeah. I mean,
I kind of believe that's foul play, especially with the whole Ukraine stuff.
yeah, I wouldn't mind being on an island with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And Jack Sparrow. Where's the rum buried?
Why is the rum gone?
I mean, it's a fantastical idea, but it would be very rare for someone to get shipwrecked on a deserted island. There are islands out there that aren't explored. They said that
Yep.
They have
my fear
people that live there that are never seen modern life.
my fear isn't landing on a desert island. My fear is landing on an island with a tribe.
Cannibals?
No, not just cannibals, just a tribe. Because nowadays the tribes kind of know about the outside world, but they're very aggressive. And imagine
the ones I'm referring to don't. They have no technology. They've never been off the island, and they're thousands of miles from.
So it's like imagine because like being on a desert island, that's one thing, but at least you know that the only thing that can harm you, I was gonna say, are animals. But if you land on an island with tribes, you're fearing for your life because they think just like you.
Well,
Not in a sense, but they
perceive you as a threat, yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to be in that situation. I'd rather be in a haunted house. Because at least that's something I got an experience with. Aidan Earhart. That's funny. Amelia. Yeah, I wonder what happened to her. Did they ever find out what happened to her?
I think I saw something where like she was eaten by coconut crabs. I don't think that's true, but that would be horrible.
The plane, though, didn't they find parts of the plane on one of those islands by is it Howell Island or something? I don't remember the name of the island. I've always been intrigued by that too.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to her.
I know there's theories that she survived the crash and lived her life out on the island, and
I mean that's very plausible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if you survived the crash and you had no way of reaching the outside world, but you would have thought. I mean, they charted her course. They knew approximately where she would probably.
Yeah. I don't know if it was just a TV show or if it was an actual documentary, but a while back I saw a show that, they found where she would have landed or where she should have landed. And there was evidence of her surviving the crash and living. But because it was so many years later, she would have just died of old age by then.
Yeah, every once in a while those things come on and I watch them. But they're fascinating because I like true stories. Not necessarily something that's based on a true story, but I like, some of the movies that are complete fabrications. Yeah, they're cool. Some of them are pretty good, but like the Haunted Mansion. Will and I went to see the Haunted Mansion, the new one. I mean, I literally fell asleep in the movie. I'm like, this is terrible.
I like the original better.
Huh?
I like the original better.
Yeah, it was better, the original, but I mean,
Or
that's a cutesy movie.
We Have a Ghost. That was a good
I
one.
saw that one.
That was cute.
Yeah, I mean those are cutesy movies, but they're like comedic. But the real stuff, like the work that we do, I like something that yes, if it's based on a true story, but keep it as close to the facts as you can, and not just go crazy with like I said, head spinning around and stuff. Because obviously we know that didn't happen. But tell the story as it really happened. But look at the Pope's Exorcist. Did you see it?
I started watching it. I'm not quite finished with it.
Oh, it came out.
Yeah,
I saw it recently. I watched it twice.
Turn it off.
I thought it was like the trailer. I thought it wasn't.
No, I was trying to watch the movie, and this one kept telling me to turn it off because he didn't want to watch it.
I mean, it was interesting. I would say I didn't hate it, but I found out later that Father Amor had given his permission for the movie many years ago, but he wanted it to be more based on facts, on real cases of his life. And obviously, watching the movie, that wasn't the case. But it was. I mean, it was interesting. Trying to think of what else that came out recently. I'm sorry, I got music going on.
I love the fact that this is a ghost show, and we're talking about so many.
We talk about it's how our show goes.
Sorry. Yeah, well, that's this show is very diverse. We want to talk about paranormal. We want to talk about cryptids and stuff like that. But what Heather, we had talked when we were contemplating the concept of this program is we wanted to use it for educational purposes for ourselves and others. People can educate us as well. So that's why I like to talk about current cases, past cases, because people that are involved in cases maybe can learn and share their ideas and thoughts on things. That's what I like to do, and get a dialogue going. I wish we could have like people call in and stuff, like a call-in show. I'm trying to read the comments here on Killer Crabs. Tammy said. What else we got? Yeah, it wasn't worth seeing. Annabelle and the Nun. The Nun, just so you guys know, was a complete fabrication. I got asked that last Friday night when I was doing my lecture. People wanted to hear about the Nun. I said, the only true story about the Nun is that during one of the Warren cases, I think it was the Maurice Theriot case, Lorraine had a dream about a nun. But it wasn't, it wasn't what they put in the movies. Annabelle obviously is a true story, but not the movies. That's all just storylines that are made up by Hollywood. See, those I don't care to watch. If it's based on a true story and it's going to teach me something about the case, then I'm interested. But that's me. That's me. I'm not into horror films, like slasher films. Like Phantasm is like a horror convention. In the last couple of years, they've sprinkled in the paranormal. So, like, I think we're the only ones that are going to be there, and Bill and his team for the paranormal. I guess they're trying to build up every year, maybe get more and more people in there and turn it into, like, a horror / paranormal. I mean, because I don't follow horror, I don't know who these people are, these so-called celebrities. I don't know who they are, but I guess some of them have a big following.
I only know 2 or 3 of them. The guy who played Officer Doofy from the Scary Movies.
Yeah.
He'll be there. The FX guy from Tremors is going to be there. And then the guy who played Lucius in the original Planet of the Apes is going to be there. Those are the only 3 I know. Yeah,
last year the only celebrity that I knew was Jack O'Halloran, who played in Superman 2. He played the villain, the tall guy. Jack O'Halloran was like 6'6" and was a boxer back in his day. But he's in his 80s now, and I got to meet him, which was great. But that's the day. Remember the story where he had to get taken out by ambulance because he had
those are the type of people when they threaten you, they mean
health issue. But he's the only one I knew because you had some guys that played Michael Myers. I'm like, well, you wore a mask the whole film. How the hell am I gonna know who you are? You know, and there must have been all the cosplayers. There was like 16 Michael Myers guys walking around, you know, which was cool. I love Ghostbusters.
It's Guess Who.
I like the guy who was dressed up as Krampus.
Yes, he was good too. And then the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes.
Those I got a kick out of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. And I mean, their uniforms were like spot on. They looked exactly like the uniforms that they had in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They did the research. That's a lot of fun. That's fun. But the other ones, you know, I don't know. Bill had to explain to me who some people were because I don't follow. You know, I don't watch like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and even the Halloween films. I saw the first one, but then it got like, in my opinion, it got out of hand. It was like, you know, Halloween. I don't know what they're up to, number 10 or something like that. It's like how many?
No, they're past 10.
I mean, and not only that, but there was Nightmare on Elm Street. There was
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Thank you. That was, you know, it's like how many of these things can these killers survive? You know, so that they're around for another movie or somebody picks up.
There's like some that they not. It's not even that they explain why. They kind of just give like, I don't even know if it's on purpose or not, but they give hints on like how it could be, and then it's just like fans to like speculate. And like 90% of the time, most people are just gonna be like, okay, he's God. And then there's the people who know what they're talking about and should probably have a different job, being like, so he has this like molecular like white cells that go and fix everything.
Well, I think it was Halloween 10 when he was in space. He was recreated by nanobots.
No, I think it was Friday the 13th.
No, because Michael Myers had a mask and he was in space.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees has a mask.
Oh, well.
How about, I just thought about a show. Have you ever seen the show Haven?
Yes, I love that show.
I like that show because that was from Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. I watched that show religiously.
That had to be what, 20 years ago?
Oh no, because Josh and I were married when we watched it, so at least 15 maybe.
Okay, well,
still an older one, but.
So yeah, I would recommend that. You could probably watch watch them on streaming somewhere.
Yeah.
Haven was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I also liked Warehouse 13 and Eureka.
I like Warehouse 13.
I don't think I've seen Warehouse 13. I've heard about it, but I don't think I've seen it.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, Robert Englund. I remember him.
Robert Englund, yeah.
So
there were a lot of people dressed up like Freddy Krueger, but he wasn't one of the guests that was there. Because I would have known who he was. And then this year, Heather, I got to be honest with you, I don't know any of the guests other than ourselves.
I knew more last year than I do this year.
And I know none because I don't know actors.
Well, I guess from what Bill tells me, there's a huge following for these horror films and shows.
There's a lot.
Well, that was with the internet and streaming,
but not even just with the internet, because it's like people had like opinions about movies, like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. That was like not even like people did not like it, and then all of a sudden, when people got to know it, they were like, "Oh, this is fun," and it kind of got like a cult following. There's a lot of movies like that.
The show Sightings was one of my favorites back in the day. That was late 80s, early 90s, I think. Tim White. Yeah. That was pretty well done, I think. But again, that was before, as we know, well, maybe, yeah, because the internet, when did the internet come out? 96?
I think so.
Yeah.
If anybody
I'm trying to
knows,
think of-
plop a comment there. I think the internet came out around 95 or 96. So before that, I'm talking like late 80s when I got involved with this work.
Yeah, we have like a completely different way.
We didn't have a lot. I mean, obviously the Twilight Zone, but
Mhm.
you know,
It's funny because you can obviously tell that
but they were
you,
more real back then.
me, and Joe are from at least you two are close together, but me and you two are we're just completely different generation.
You mean close together in age?
He doesn't even watch TV. He watches his
No,
phone.
it's not. I'm not talking about YouTube stuff. I'm just like
TV
talking
rots
about
your
general.
brain.
So I mainly talk about because like you guys, you watch like some of like the ghost stuff and the
Good
like,
luck,
TV
Nicole.
shows and movies. Me, I mainly just watch cartoons. I guess you can call it.
Oh, you're still young.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tammy, what were you, 5? Oh, these young people.
It's like in the 90s. I was in college already.
90s.
And then you dropped out.
I'm old. It's weird. I say the
Just
yeah.
messing with
Good
you.
luck, Nicole. Thanks for being here. The Warrens were only a few years older than I am now when I met them, so it's kind of creepy when I think about that.
Mhm.
They were like maybe 60. Let me do the math. They were born one was born in 26, 27, 60 years old. I met them in 86. Yeah, they were around 60 years old.
Dang, they went through World War II.
Mhm.
Well, Ed was in the Navy. Ed was on the Oklahoma. He actually saved a bunch of lives. He was a hero. War
Mhm.
hero.
Maybe
But
that's
yeah.
what got him into the paranormal.
Yeah, he grew up with
Well, no, what got him into the paranormal is he grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, in a haunted house, and his father was a state trooper, and his father, didn't really acknowledge. He knew what was going on, but he'd say, "You know what, son, everything happens for a reason." And he lived
Mhm.
there for, I think, 12 years of his life, and then he would see this apparition of this old woman. He'd say, they'd come out of his closet. Didn't harm anything, just scared the bejesus out of him. But as he got older, he got more intrigued, and then Lorraine obviously,
Yeah.
went to like a private girls' school, and she remembers when she said around the age of 9, she started to be able to see auras. She didn't know what it was at the time. She'd just see, these lights around people, and started to develop her gifts and be able to know things about them. So, fascinating story.
Mhm.
I think it was the Oklahoma, Tammy, not the Oklahoman.
Mhm.
The
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. That's the ship that was. I think that's the one that was destroyed in Pearl Harbor, and it
The Oklahoma sounds like a
burned
cryptid.
to death because they were covered in oil. I hope I'm remembering that right. I don't know. I have brain fog here.
It might just be me, but the Oklahoma sounds like a cryptid.
Yeah, no, he was in the Navy. My dad was in the Navy too, but he was stationed stateside, I think.
Papa was in the Navy.
Yeah, my dad was in the Navy as well.
I was supposed to go into the Navy. I know we're running out of time here, but I was supposed to go to the Navy out of high school, but I got hit by a drunk driver when I was 17. And I was in a car, but he T-boned me and pushed me onto an oncoming car. I got hit head on. So that was really like the beginning of my knee problems. So 8 years ago, I had to have them both completely replaced. So now I can't walk through a metal detector. But yeah, if I had, my life might have taken a different turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and same with me. I was all ready to enlist, but when I was talking to the recruiter, back in '92, I was ready to go into the naval aviation, and they said that they would accept me and I could go through the pilot training and all the pilot programming. But cool. In the event we went to war, they didn't allow females to fly in combat, and I would be stuck behind a radar. And I was like, no, thank you.
Well, that's pretty chauvinistic.
Back then, that's what it was like.
Yeah, I know. I had a friend, an old girlfriend of mine, that wanted to go into the Air Force. She got all the way down to boot camp, and they sent her back because she had flat feet.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, she had flat feet, so they didn't accept her.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that story. That was sad, because she was crushed.
Have an arch.
An arch?
Yeah, arch.
Apparently, we have an arch on our feet.
I know you're in Oklahoma. Tammy.
It is late, and I am so sorry, Todd. I forgot the commercial break. I didn't realize what time it was.
Oh, are we in trouble? I'm sorry.
We're in trouble. We owe Todd a commercial break.
Sorry, Todd. I'll dedicate my next hour to you.
But anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure you guys, if you're in Florida or can make it to Florida, head on down to Phantasm in Orlando, September 15th, 16th, and 17th. We will be there. And I know we didn't talk about it too much, but Haunted Florida Lighthouses will be released September 11th. You can either reach out to me and get a copy of the book autographed and shipped to you, or you can find it on Amazon and then any of your local bookstores. And I know the date it releases in Florida, you can find it at Walgreens, CVS, Target, Walmart, and all of those locations as well.
Yeah, I hope some folks can come down to Phantasm, because that's always a fun event.
Yep, definitely looking forward to it. And next week we have Todd joining us.
Awesome.
So that'll be a fun conversation. Always love having him on my show.
I can't wait for that one, and then we can give him some commercial time.
Yeah, we'll give him double commercials next week. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching us. And
I know that's stuff.
Yeah, we'll see you all next week. And of course, thank you, Aidan, for joining us as well. It's past his bedtime.
Yes.
I don't have
Bless everyone. Take care. Be safe. All that stuff.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.